Coaches, athletes, what's happening? Michael Hughes here, Gymnazo EDU. I got to talk about some stuff that happens all the time. Stuff breaks. So if you've been a coach as long as I have, owned facilities as long as I have, you have equipment that just doesn't take up to the beating of rigorous training, especially if you have some rock star athlete cranking on a piece of equipment, using it appropriately. Well, there's wear and tear that's going to happen. So I'm going to talk about how to fix a battle rope. And things like this happen all the time. I fixed my fair share of equipment, so we're going to start a brand new series, a long series on how to fix broken equipment. If you have something that needs fixing, you let me know about it. Myself or clients of mine have pretty much built this entire facility. Obviously not the structure piece of it, but things around it. I put in this turf, I've built that custom rack, put together this whole scene. So there's a lot that we've learned and want to share with you. So how do you fix a battle rope that's gone, well, haywire? Well, a few things you're going to need. First thing you're going to need is a heat gun or a very, very hot blow dryer. You're going to need some rubber tubing, and this tubing is a little bit different. It basically contracts under heat. In the description, I'll put a link to this stuff that you can buy. Depending on the size of rope that broke, you want the diameter of this tubing to kind of fit that kind of spot. So we'll talk about that. Then obviously some cutting devices. So as you're going through this, and this rope kind of untangles and kind of makes it happen, you realize that these ropes are manufactured very, very tightly. So as you go back to kind of rewind it and kind of get it in its groove, you're going to realize that either the manufacturer let one piece a little bit too short, and that's why it slipped out, or your retie job is not as tight as the previous manufacturer ones. And honestly, kind of makes sense, because even if you looked in real tight, or my weaves are not as tight as this one. So what am I going to do about that? Well, actually what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut this short. My rope will get another 6 inch shorter, no big deal, but we want to make sure that's taken care of and dialed in. So I'm going to go ahead and remove this extra rope piece and just have a very sharp blade, and you're basically going to score very, very carefully and just hit the same spot over and over again. Slowly cut. Again, this rope is more than just 3 pieces. Right? Each spot has its own kind of condensed, it's almost like a muscle tissue, to be quite frank with you. Right? There's a bunch of small fibers that make one large fiber. So I got my first one cut, just a nice score. We want to keep it tight, so you make a nice clean cut, because you don't want to be chasing away these extra long fibers. A few more here, and we should be good to go. There it is. Awesome. So I got my extra piece here. That'll be in the treasure trove. So now I'm a little bit long on this side. I want to cut that down, get that out of the way so I have a nice clean handle, ready to get rocking and rolling here. So once I finish cutting this, we'll get back to it. All right, so now I've got a new fresh end that I've just finished cutting, but you see these are kind of brand new, kind of fresh rope. And what we don't want is we don't want this to untangle in itself. So what we like to do is either get a flame and start to heat it up, or we can grab our heat gun and start to kind of burn the end of this rope so it gets kind of condensed. And this doesn't take too long, but the fibers in this nylon rope start to melt together, so you don't get these open frays to start coming through. And it's very important that you weave it tight together, again, because you don't want to be spending your time doing this while you could be spending time working with clients or working on your business to make it grow. So I've always been taught, do it right the first time. So get those all kind of frayed up a little bit. This gun gets hot. Don't get my fingers. Good. Don't have to get too crazy, but just something to keep it together, so when you're kind of hanging out, you're not losing the rope away. So that's good enough there. So now I got my tubing. Now, manufactured tubing is pretty darn thick. So depending on what you get, I like to do 2 different levels. Now this has basically a glue inside of it that allows you to stick to the rope as well. So it sticks to the rope and it shrinks around the rope. And I'm going to do the same distance as well. So just throw the first one on there. Now this shrinks down, So I want to go a little bit bigger because it's going to shrink on down to go about another inch or so bigger. I'm doing a double wrap on it. It doesn't have to be too perfect. Cutting 2 of them. So I get that double. There it is. Keep this for extra. Cool stuff is that only costs, I don't know, like maybe like $10, $15 for plenty of extra for future fixes. Open it up just like that. And I'm wearing a black sweatshirt on a black object. So open that up. And now this is the hard part because this rope is opened. That's why I like to fray the end. So I'm really going to tighten it down. And the more you tighten a rope, the smaller it gets. So I'm going to tighten it down, get as close as I can, and then make sure I get every fiber to get inside. So don't untangle it. Sneak it in there. Take your time. Obviously, the better you burn the rope, the easier this process is. Sneak them all in there. And slide them in. Now you want to keep that rope tight as you slide it over. So how do you do that? You keep spinning this rubber sleeve over the rope as you push it down. And keep going. And I like to have a little bit of the rubber sticking over the end so it kind of caps this rope. So I don't get any loose ends hanging out. Looks pretty good there. And the first thing I'm going to do, that looks good right about there. Now I want to start at the end first because that's going to shrink the most. Put the heat gun on it, as you can see. It's awesome, it just goes right to work. Nice even spread. Make sure it wraps around the top. I'll cut away any extra. It has a pretty good shrink rate where it folds in on itself. And that's about as small as it gets. But I want to go hot enough where that glue on the inside gets activated. This does have a decent smell to it, so I would definitely be mindful about doing this in an enclosed area. It's not bad, but it's certainly there. Heating that up, getting all the way around. You can see how it starts to contour to the rope. Get that glue on the inside to activate so it squeezes it together. Now when you put this heat gun off of it, the rubber's going to be hot. So watch out for that. Okay, good enough for now. There you go. I'll leave that there until I finish the other one because it's going to be a nice guide. I'm going to put the second layer on. Now, depending on the quality of the rubber that you get, you may have to do 1. I like to do 2. Just get that extra layer. Like I said, I don't want to be doing this again. And I put this one a little bit lower than the first one. So I get kind of extra kind of rope grab on the very bottom, and it continues to seal it up. A little bit more. There it is, just sticking out the top a little bit there. Get off my black sweatshirt there. Nice job. And that's fired up. I'm going to start at the base now. So we get a tight seal at the base first. Had a tight seal at the top first. Now a tight seal at the base first. So I cover my ends. As it shrinks, continue to add up and add up and add up. Again, a heat gun is not totally necessary. A blow dryer at high heat will work, but it's just going to take longer. So if you have one of these tools around, great. Go get them at a local hardware store. Like, won't cost you more than 10, 20 bucks. Make sure you get a big enough diameter because you don't want to be really wrestling with the rope to get it through. This shrinks like to I think it shrinks down 3 times its original diameter. So bigger is a little bit better. All right. I'll snip off that top, and then you are ready to put this back in the rotation. Set there, rope fixed. Just saved yourself a solid $100+ and just 10, 20 bucks, and 20 minutes of your time.